By communicating and collaborating with others across the country or around the world, web-based and spontaneous internet projects can lead to extraordinary, authentic learning opportunities. In the following segment, several teachers share their personal experiences with internet projects.
About 5 years ago, when I was a second grade teacher, we were given 3 computers in our classrooms, and I was really insecure about using them. I had never used computers before. I didn't even know how to turn them on, as I wasn't quite sure how I was going to integrate this in my classroom. And it caused me a lot of stress. And so my husband, who was very kind, showed me how to use the computer, and I started learning how to navigate the World Wide Web. And I found that teachers were doing some exciting things online, that there were actual projects that you could join, and you didn't really need to be very computer savvy to be successful in these projects. And so I joined a project with my second grade students, and we had travel buddies where we traded stuffed animals with other classes and emailed to one another. And then we joined other projects where we wrote collaborative stories where my students would write a paragraph and then another class from another state would write the next paragraph, and we'd be really excited to see who was going to write the next one. And I found that these projects were very user-friendly. They tied in beautifully to the standards, and all of a sudden it made my job so much more fun and interesting. It was probably the most exciting thing I did during the school year. Shortly after, I started thinking, gee, I really want to coordinate a project, but how do I go about doing it? And so I started thinking, well, what do I normally do when I teach in September? And, well, we teach about apples, we teach about autumn, and I think many other second grade teachers do that as well. And so I started thinking further about what could I do that would even be better if I did it collaboratively. And I came up with my first collaborative project, An Apple a Day. And that project was very, very special. I listed different poetry formats and got people to join. Their students wrote poems following the poetry formats, and their work was published on a website. And I can't begin to tell you how rewarding that was. I just couldn't wait to get my email to see who's joining my project. And then when the time came for people to submit their materials, that was like Christmas, I suppose. Waking up in the morning and saying, wow, look what all these gifts I have. It was just the beginning of 5 wonderful years of collaborative project coordinating. My most recent project that I finished was Spring into Life. This project was designed for students in grades 1 through 4, and it coincided with Earth Day. Patty, who's my coworker, and I planned this project to take place in April because we know that many students are learning about Earth Day, and it's springtime, so that was a perfect topic to explore. And we were also looking for a project that had a strong science emphasis, along with using the other subject areas. We wrote up the project description, announced it, and one of the things that I did do in this project is I gave different suggestions on ideas that teachers could use, and of course told the participants to be innovative and add to the list. And we had 25 classes throughout the world join this project, and the students did a whole bunch of different interesting activities about spring. There was plant studies. One class had raised chickens. One class was studying pigs. A whole bunch of different thematic studies around the title, Spring into Life. What I would suggest is if you want to be a project coordinator, and I think everybody should because it's so much fun to do, you should pick a topic that you've used before in the classroom, something that was successful but you think could even be better if there was a collaborative piece to it. Start small. Don't invite more people than you think you have the time to work with. Assess your own technology skills and don't engage in something that you're uncomfortable with. For example, if you've never worked with creating forms, I would then not use that in your project. Another thing, it's very important to be available, to let teachers know that they could contact you either by email, or you could give them your school phone if you could talk during the school day, or even your home number, because this way they know that you're committed to what you're doing. They're not overwhelmed. If they have a question, they know that they could have it answered in a reasonable amount of time. One of the things that's very important in planning a project is to have a realistic timetable. Teachers have a lot on their plate, and you don't want to overwhelm people by not giving them enough time to meet their obligation. But at the same time, it's important to have a very clearly defined timetable. Your participants should know when the project is going to begin and when it's going to end. You need to communicate on a regular basis with the participants so that they know that you're on top of the situation and you're not forgetting about the deadline. They need several reminders. Otherwise, people tend to forget, and then you could wind up not having a project. One of the things as educators that we're trying to do is prepare the students for the world that they're going to be working and living in. And as we know, technology is no longer something new. Everybody is connected, and students are going to be expected to be using computers throughout life, and many people are going to find that in their jobs they need to collaborate. I was listening to a keynote speaker at a conference once talking about how it's been reported by industry that students leave high school all ready for their jobs, except they're very weak in one skill, and that's collaboration, that they need to be able to work on teams. And many times they have to work with people that they don't even see. They might be working with people in other countries. And so this is a wonderful way to prepare students for the world that they're going to be living in. In order for teachers to be able to help students learn collaborative skills, they themselves have to know how to collaborate. And so by joining projects like these, they're collaborating online, and so they're actually role models for the children in using the skill. In addition, they're able to see best practices from teachers throughout the world and get a whole bunch of new ideas of how they could use technology to make their classrooms more enhanced. They're no longer working just in their classroom isolated. Their classroom becomes the world. Their children are being a part of a big project that's going to be on the World Wide Web for everybody to see. And so they're a part of something very special. And what happens is that they start sharing their positive experiences with their colleagues, and very soon a lot of other people want to hop on board.